opportunity to talk about a little application in our ecosystem in Ruby on Rails, which is Rails contributors, which is, it's an application that I love a lot for a series of reasons, and that has, perhaps some interesting history and some little details that very few people know about. So, yeah, so a good opportunity. Who knows this application, Rails contributors? All right, good. And who has his name in that page? Please raise your hands. Awesome. Woo, woo. Okay. So for those of you that don't know this application, it's very simple. It's a web application that gives credit to people that contribute some parts to the Ruby on Rails code base. So when you push to GitHub some pull requests, any commits, and there's a webhook that calls this application and registers the new contributors. So there's a listing with the people that have made some parts someday, and then for each one of them there's their page. So for instance, this is Frederick Cheung, and these are the commits that Frederick has put into Ruby on Rails since the beginning, since 2004. All of the work. So very, very simple application. It's a micro application. It's 2 pages, right? But it's an application that I love. So the story of this application starts in 2008. So it's almost 4 years since it started. I was invited to do a keynote in the conference we do in Spain every year, which is Conferencia Rails, this one, in 2008, and the topic of the keynote were revolutions in mankind, not this kind of revolutions, but this kind of revolutions, right? When mankind somehow has gone forward, has moved forward, sometimes at the global scope, like, scientific revolutions, scientific reasoning or something like that, sometimes in areas like music or, specific areas. And I enjoyed a lot that keynote, and preparing that keynote, and the thesis of the keynote was that in web development, Ruby on Rails had been a revolution. You could say that in 2008. But I didn't want to say that, waving hands, like doing hyperboles and that kind of stuff. I wanted to give some data and some, to support that claim with actual data. So I took a lot of metrics about the project in several ways, plugins, books, for instance. I remember that Wikipedia listed like 100 and something web frameworks, existing web frameworks. And I went to find how many books for the most popular web frameworks were published. And for instance, Modpel had 1 book, Spring had like 12 books, and Ruby on Rails had 60 books. So there was a lot of stuff. And when I was preparing this presentation, I thought, there's something that caught my attention, which was that there was a lot of going on in contributing to Ruby on Rails. So, we used Track back in the day for tickets and, for everything. And we had, the 3+1 rule, if anyone remembers this rule, about, when a ticket was considered to be worth having a look from the core team. And we had the Rails Hackfest, you remember the Hackfest? It was fun, right? The good old days, right? So there was a lot going on, and I thought, hey, I think this is significant. I mean, there's a lot of patches, a lot of people contributing to. There was a lot of inertia, and I thought, okay, how many people have worked on Ruby on Rails, have done some patch to Ruby on Rails? And that was impossible or very difficult to know because Ruby on Rails used Subversion since 2004 to 2008, somewhere. And Subversion, as you know, does not distinguish between the author and the committer. In Git, we have author and committer. But in Subversion, we didn't. So the commits in Subversion just register the core team member that actually merged the parts, you know? So, okay, so in principle, it's no way to track the people that contributed to that. But there were some conventions. Normally, when core team committed a patch, they put credit at the end of the commit message in square brackets, or in the change log, in between in square brackets at the end, or something like that. So, you know, it's a convention, it's done by hand, but I had a look at it and studied whether I could do something about it. So, for instance, we have here a commit message from Pratik Naik. You know, this is one of his nicknames. So you see, it's the commit message, and at the end, in square brackets, LIFO FIFO. Sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes you have some natural language. For instance, here the Diddle, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, earlier work by, so there are two people here, right? And both of these people should get credit for this commit. Sometimes you get square brackets, but the content of the square brackets are not persons. So like this typical thing that you can capture with a pattern, but there are a number of these that you see that they are not persons. So in one hand, we had like this convention. Okay, let's try to do something with this convention. And on the other hand, there was another, issue, which was that since this was done by hand, by people, writing this, they used whatever they wanted to identify the person, like the nickname, the email, the full name, whatever. So, for instance, for Pratik Naik, we have Pratik Naik, we have Pratik lowercase, LIFO FIFO, LIFO, and all of these are the same person. So, if you want, to count the name of contributors, all of these were one contributor. You need to identify these as the same person. This is Marcel Molina, which was, a core team member in the early days. Marcel Molina, JR dot, Marcel Molina, Marcel Molina, JR without dot. Marcel lowercase, no radio, which is his nickname. Marcel Molina with two L's, a typo. All of them are the same person, so the application or my script that was written for this keynote should identify all of them as the same person. And then we have more stuff like Jose Valim and Michael Linsar, two persons, but Jose without accent, and Yehuda, they are Jose and Yehuda, and this commit should be credited to both of them. Carl Huda is Carl Arch and Yehuda Katz, right? So there's a lot of, stuff going on, and I don't know, I said, okay, you are not going to be able to do this perfect, like 100% accuracy, but it doesn't matter, I don't care. Let's try to do it the best you can, So, another one, sometimes just information, it's wrong, for instance, or wrong, and in this case, for this particular commit, the author is Pivotal Labs. But I wrote to Pivotal Labs, hey, do you know which is the author of this commit? And they told me, yeah, it was actually done by Chris. So for this particular commit, even if Subversion or Git, because that was imported later, even it says that it's Pivotal Labs, the application says, hey, it's Pivotal Labs, but I will credit Chris Hastale Cam. Sorry, I cannot pronounce correctly the name. So, a lot of details, is everything denormalized, everything done by hand, but I said, okay, let's be patient, and I wrote a little script, quick, dirty script, and I worked on this script and did for some time before the keynote, and when the keynote approached, I said, okay, I think I am confident enough to be able to give a figure. So all of this work was for only this slide, to be able to say a figure that I was confident enough that it was enough approximate, because I started with 1,700, something like that. And, you were adding mappings, the number was decreasing. And I think that by the time of the keynote, it was like 1,400, something like that, or maybe it didn't reach that. But I said, okay, so let's scale it a little bit down, because there's still a lot of work to do. But so the goal was, this number. So everything was about this number. So I could say, okay, I think it's approximate enough, good enough figure, 1,300 people contributing to Ruby on Rails, which I think it's just awesome. I mean, it's just frenetic, So after this, Pratik Naik knew about this work and said, hey, we should do a website with this work you've done. I said, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. So the idea was to emulate the look and feel of the Rails guide, which is a look and feel that we like in the project, like the color palette and everything. And José Espinal, or perhaps I should say José Espinal, volunteered to do the design. And in May of 2009, we launched the application, the public application, which was this. So this application had like two kind of guidelines. One is technical, which is I knew that I was doing mappings almost every day. So the application should be able to know, I should be able to push that this and these guys that are listed like different, they are the same person. And the application should auto-heal, should compute everything. And the other thing was the application, it was about people. This application it's for the people. So it's not in particular about the project. It's not about Ruby on Rails. I didn't want charts or statistics. No, it's for the people. So homepage, the people. That's the focus of this application. The people, a page for each of them. So you have the number, the name, and commits. Commits are there because we want to show off the contributions of each one of these guys. And the unit of work we have to be able to show this is the commit. So we got commits to GitHub, we got, that's the unit of work. So the commits are there, meaning unit of work, meaning that's when I list the page of someone, that's what I can tell you about the work of that guy linking to GitHub, right? But the commits are not a ranking. And in the motivation of this application, this is not a ranking. Indeed, the first version of this application that didn't see the light of the day didn't have the first column. This column with the number? My proposal was this application. But then I was asked to add the left column because when you filter by month or by year, it gives some people believe or want to have some context about, okay, this is a regular committer or some context. Okay, I have mixed feelings about that column. I have had mixed feelings for 4 years about that column, And I don't like it very much. So when we went out to, when we published the application for the first time, I did like 2 little hacks that I know that, it was to give me a little peace of mind, And they are very subtle, but I want to explain these little hacks. First hack is that this column has no label, right? That's on purpose. So you have the name, you have commits, and this one, there's no label. So the other one, and this is, to try to de-emphasize. I try to de-emphasize, this metric because it's meaningless. It's like counting lines of code. It's meaningless. It's not the purpose of the counter, not the purpose of listing commits. It's not a metric in my mind. So the other one is even more subtle. It's here. So this is a counter, and this is a numeric column. Numeric columns normally align to the right, okay? No, it's centered. it's entered, so these numbers are a little bit less numeric, you know? All right, so that's what I could do. So this was the application, micro application, 2 pages, but the aim is to give credit, to give visibility to the work of people, because otherwise that, you know, it's in the oblivion of, you know, change logs and everything, visibility. And I've seen web pages and resumes where people say, hey, I've worked on Ruby on Rails, I've contributed these 12 patches, and a link, and these are my patches. So if you are looking for a job or something, you can actually link to the page that proves that you've done that, you know. So I love that. And in a way also to say thank you, because this is an open source project, you know, and everything, or almost everybody is working on his free time, and he wants to fix something, he provides a patch in his free time. Really. So thank you for contributing to this. In the end, after these years, we have 100 mappings. 1,000, I have problems spelling the numbers in English. 1,000 mappings, and that's me. I mean, every one of these mappings is entered by hand, like Googling the nickname, writing to the person. I don't know. It's everything by hand, Googling, and, you know, doing case by case, trying to, you know, to identify everyone. And the current number of contributors, it's 2,000 and almost 400. So it's a significant, you know, if 1,000 of, you know, of the total of the names have been, you know, collapsed to the, you know, representative. So it's, if we hadn't this, the number would be like unrealistic, totally unrealistic. And when preparing this talk, I wondered, okay, how has been, you know, this in the story of the, you know, the project, the new people that come to contribute to this. And I was surprised that this is like, it's linear, you know, and the slope 1. So people come to the project and contribute like they did in 2008 or 2007 or whatever, you know. And so it's kind of cool. And to end this talk, I wanted to give something symbolic. If I prepared a video. This is a video. So this is the homepage. I didn't say an important detail about this application, which is that there's no pagination. That's on purpose. So when I thought the application in 2008, I said, there's going to be no pagination. Why? Because if you contribute something, you go to the homepage. You know? That's your name there, the homepage. No 7th page or, no. The homepage is your name. The table has 2,000 rows, who cares? I don't know, 2,000 rows, oh, right? So in this video, it's just something kind of symbolic. I scroll down all the way, all the list. So all the names of all the people that has contributed anything, something to Ruby on Rails are going to pass through the screen. So I would like to ask you, if you want, to give an ovation, you know, while this scrolls, an ovation to all these people, okay? Ready? Okay, let's go. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for questions.
I'm guessing that the Rails core team was listed only for commits that they have authored, right? Or committed as well, because if they actually review merge or pull requests, which is also like a tough job, Does it count for them, or?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So there are like little details like this, you know, in the day-to-day. For the committee in the Subversion Times, there's only the author. But in GitHub, when you merge, you get the author in the commits of the author, and then the merge commit. And the author of the merge commit is the core team member. So perhaps if the pull request has 10 commits, then there are 10 commits for the author, and then there's one commit, one merge commit for the committer, for the core team member. And this is something, there are some details like this that we have, you know, pondered. What should we do with this kind of stuff? It's fair, it's not fair, you know. And I think you are right. So in the day-to-day, a core team member that merges a pull request, normally there's work behind that merge. So you have to, you know, study what's the proposal, what the code, looks good, it fits with the perspective of the project. You know, you have to think about a little bit. Sometimes there's some discussion in campfire. Hey, guys, what do you think about this pull request? Okay, fine. Okay, no, I think it should change. Oh, okay, -1. You know, so there's work, and I think it's fair. So with the pull request in GitHub, we decided, and we talked with Jose about it, that it was okay to not filter out, because there are some commits that are filtered out. For instance, in the Rails 3 days, there are a lot of commits that were cherry picking. Like we were working in the two branches, or on the 3 branches, and then cherry pick it to 2 or something like that. And there were a lot of them. It was like very noisy. It looked very noisy because you saw duplicated commits, and cherry picking normally does not, you know, it's just cherry pick. So there's code in the application that says if this looks like a cherry pick, do not count it, you know? There are some details I have not explained it, but you're right. Oh, another thing was doc Rails. Doc Rails, you know, we have Rails, we have doc Rails, which is a branch of Rails where with public right access to be able to patch the documentation of Rails. Without opening tickets, it's open right access. But then the changes are merged back into Rails, and Rails is merged back into the Rails like once a week or two times a week, so they stay in sync, you know, so you are actually documenting Rails. So doc Rails started before all this, and Pratik Naik, which was the guy that, you know, that invented doc Rails and did the cross merges for a long time, he did the cross merges squashed. So when doc Rails went to Rails, the merge was squashed. In particular, the authors of the commits in doc Rails weren't there. You know, the squash commit, it said improvement, documentation, something, the commit message, and it was like, wow, this. And until 2010, it was done that way. But in 2010, in some month, I don't remember, we changed this. And we said, okay, these are contributions to the code base. And I think it was Yehuda, the first one that said, okay, let's do a regular merge from doc Rails to Rails, you know? And then all of a sudden, overnight, gave like 100 more people. And for me personally, I was like 2 years working in doc Rails, you know, working seriously in doc Rails for 2 years, more or less. And my work had no visibility. And it was fine for me. I don't know, I am a person that I love open source, and you know, if I see something that I think it should be fixed, or there's room for improvement, I am the kind of guy that sits in a chair and tries to fix it, rather than writing a post rand or something like that, you know. So I was like 2 years working in doc Rails without visibility. No, nobody except perhaps the people more in touch with the project knew. But with this merge, I had like 100 or 200 code commits, code-based commits. And then I switched it overnight to 700 or something like that. Why? Because this so all of a sudden, all this hidden work saw the light of the day, you know? So, yeah, there are these little details about what to come.
One more question. Do you have a quick one, right? And with a quick.
Yeah, hello again. How do you manage the pull request that I have maybe twice commits as needed? Because it's a kind of phrase. I have often freelancers contacting me and say, look, I'm in the top 20 of the race committers. You can look at this page, and probably they should maybe create 10 commits instead of 5. And as a committer,
So,
do you handle that?
yeah, okay, so basically, there's no automated thing. So, I don't know. I want to trust people. I don't want to, to monitor these kind of things. And I don't do. Sometimes, some people say, hey, this guy seems to be gaming the application, right? Could happen. Like, instead of doing what you said, So, but I don't know. So the answer is we do nothing about it. Just, if it catches your eyes, then perhaps you email the guy, or I don't know. But I want to think that it's not. I mean, when you are doing Git commits, I think you should think in Git terms. If there was not the application, which would be the unit of work you would commit. If that's small, perfect. If that's big, perfect. Sometimes, for instance, I see a typo, I commit a typo, that's my unit of work. I wrote the entire explain feature in 3.2. And for me, the unit of work was the entire feature. So I worked in a branch, and when everything was okay, I did a squash merge, and it was one commit for the entire explain feature, So I want to think in terms of what's natural as a Git commit. It has a side effect here. Okay, it doesn't matter. For me, it doesn't matter. But some people may game it. I don't know. I don't care.
All right. Yes, yeah, thank you.
All right,
guys.
thank you.